But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I see that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm the void.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting in New York, upstate, all the way from the Great Lakes. That's a different intro, right? This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. It's Monday night, August the 31st, as we head on into September the 1st. Tonight, our guest, J.M. Debord, is back with us from dreams123.net. We're going to talk more about the subconscious in the dream world. Sometimes we go into space, sometimes the astral realm, sometimes the dream world. We don't like to stick around the mundane too much around here, if you're just listening. The show comes on every night, Monday through Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific to 11 p.m. Pacific. And then you can check out The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable directly after that, which is, he's also located here. So we're building a compound out here. We're not really building, but we have a compound. There's a room directly across from me that is empty, two down below. And eventually we'll just have all the radio hosts up here and we'll just have one big party. What do you say? Y'all come on. Anyways, I want to give a shout out to some of the new patrons. And for the Lighting the Void Patreon, you actually have an option now. If you want to support the show, you have an option for a lifetime membership, which you get a humongous discount if you do that. So James White, thank you for signing up with that, with your lifetime membership. Stephen Haynes, Jim Brong, and then we'll go down the list too. LG Day, Sammy, Cassie, Salcido Paranormal, my brother, Corey, Little Mo Peep, Ricky Bacon, Dave Curie, Barbara, Tammy, Jen, Robin, Kelly, Kimberly, Andrew, Saman, Abby, Janine, Tam, Kristen, Alyssa, Amanda, Connie, Debbie, No Way Jose, Diane, Tom Wolf, Malorcas, Teresa, Lynn, Nick, Kathleen, Macon, B. Thank all you guys for what you do. I got some new stuff for you. Should be uploaded tomorrow. And we're going to do some behind-the-scenes stuff, too. I want to thank the network sponsors at GetTheT.com, also AncientLifeOil.com, and Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've had a paranormal experience that has caused you any type of post-traumatic stress or trauma, give them a call. And you can also visit Metaphorical Archaeology on Facebook, too. That's Barbara Charlton, doing good work. Also a partner in crime here on the Fringe FM as well. So JM is back with us again, and we usually talk to JM, I don't know, like I would say once a month he comes on, and we like to go over the dream world and just get a glimpse of what's going on, because we have a few guests on here that talk about dreams, and JM's like probably one of the biggest guests that we can have on here. And I think that it's important that we stay in touch with our subconscious. This is why we talk about it so much, because it actually delivers the truth behind the truth behind the truth. And, if you don't know who James Debord is, he's a best-selling author, world-renowned dream expert, creator of Dream School, the Reddit moderator known as RadOwl, and a popular media guest. You can go to his website at dreams123.net. And I believe you got a few websites. You got a new website out now, don't you, JM?
Yeah, I do, bro. Dreams123.com.
There you go.
It's a book that I wrote, and I took an entire book worth of material and put it up there. So it takes you through the 3 simple facts about dreams and then the 3 simple steps to interpret them. So yeah, man, around the world, training people to understand and explore their dreams. Man,
you know what it is? What I have an issue with is like the memory thing, but I'm starting like, I don't know if if anybody's ever told you this, but it's probably a dumb question, but do you think like location is a factor? Because I got to tell you, man, the energy up here is way better. Of course, I wasn't in a shack, right? So that's kind of like old school, slightly depressing, but slightly rugged and haggard and cool. But the energy's better here, so my dreams have been kind of better. I mean, I don't know. Does location do something for you? Does that even matter?
If the location affects the strength of your aura, then yes, because the coherence and the strength of your aura has a lot to do with how much you are able to explore the dream world, to engage with it while you're dreaming. This is a very important part of dream memory, is the ability to have enough energy and awareness while you're asleep and dreaming to be able to engage with the content. Now, it's going to happen automatically because the dream is telling you a story and you walk into it like an actor it's like a movie, and you forget that you're an actor and now you're participating in the story. So that part of it always happens. But is there a deeper engagement that you can have with your mind where you can have maybe some awareness that you're dreaming? Maybe not even so much dreaming, but you're very deeply engaged with the story. And this really helps you. And so the general energy level helps. Now, here's something interesting for you, Joe, is there have been studies that have shown that when you are sleeping in a new environment, that half of your brain will sleep at a time, go into deep, unaware sort of sleep, but half of your brain stays a little bit more awake. The same thing the same behavior is exhibited by sharks because they never go fully asleep, and some other types of fish because they could be eaten, right? So they think that this is kind of a survival instinct that is programmed into the brain. So what happens is when you're sleeping in a new environment and half of your brain is staying more awake than usual, you know what happens? You remember more dreams because you're more aware as you're dreaming. There's also a study that showed that the difference between high dream recall, people who remember, it's a threshold that the researchers gave for considering somebody to be a high dream recaller, which is basically every morning they wake up with dream memories, compared to people who are low dream recallers, who most mornings they don't have any dream memories. One of the differences they found between them is that the high dream recallers will wake up more during the night, and the low dream recallers tend to sleep straight through. So on the nights that I surface more, you come to the surface and kind of you either open your eyes or you just become aware that you've just woken up. Maybe not fully awake, but it's the middle of the night, and you wake up. Maybe you have to use the bathroom or get a drink of water, or you just wake up. People who do that more will have better recall of their dreams. I found that it helps me to surface, to become, when I wake up naturally during the middle of the night, to pull in my dream. Like the first thing I do, think about, what was I just dreaming? If I woke up, then I probably just came out of a REM stage, which is when you have the most vivid dreams. And so it's a perfect opportunity for you to just relax and pull those memories in. What was I just dreaming about? Oh, yeah, okay. I was, driving along in the car with my childhood best friend, and we were, going to the store to get a snow cone, whatever, But you just start pulling in that content. And what it does is it pulls it out of the short-term memory that dreams are normally stored in, and then it pulls it into a longer-term storage. And it's even better if you can pull out a notebook and jot, some notes down so that you can remember the dream and have things to jog your memory when you wake up in the morning. So pretty cool, Joe. Yes, environment can affect your ability to remember your dreams, and making a big move like you just went through is one of those things that, you could be moving anywhere other than upstate New York, and, maybe the same sort of change in your life would jog or instigate you to have more dream recall. But there might be something about the environment that you're in, the land, if you're closer to nature, particularly, if you have running water nearby, and if you're in a good environment where you enjoy being around the people, and instead of them pulling energy off of you and draining you, you feel charged by the people in the environment. And that, I think, is probably a very big factor, because that energy that gets pulled off of you by people and situations draining your energy off of you, you won't have that energy for being able to give to your dreams. When I'm dead tired, exhausted, or stressed out or whatever, and I go to bed, I very rarely recall more than fragments of dreams. But when I've got energy, maybe not going to bed like hyped up on caffeine, but just general energy level, libido, what Carl Jung called libido, life energy.
Right.
When I have that and I can go to sleep with it, I recall my dreams better.
Yeah. I think everything's integrated still yet. I got to tell you, man, I don't know. I think we're living in a dream. I saw a ghost for the first time in my life. Not like, brother, I'm not talking about like a blob or an apparition. I'm talking about a body walking down the street and then disappearing. First time ever in my life. And it really wigged me out, like we see that kind of, you know what I mean? Like we see that kind of stuff in our dreams all the time. This is what I'm starting to understand about like the dream world. We see some of the most crazy, chaotic things in our dreams that do not make sense, and they don't rattle us. It's almost like we accept the reality in our dreams sometimes, You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I teach simple fact number one about dreams is that subconsciously you know what they mean. Subconsciously you know what the symbols mean. So when you see something in a dream that appears to be very surreal, that is not something that you would encounter normally in your waking life, and you don't react to it in a way where it's like, the axe murderer is chasing you and you're like, whatever, like in real life, you'd be running, running for cover or grabbing your gun or whatever. But in the dream, if you understand that the axe murderer actually symbolizes something that's benign, it's time to make that big change, or the axe is something that severs and it's time to cut off that relationship or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now you're reacting to it in a way during the dream so that you can note that and go, well, wow, I should be, running from the axe murderer. Why didn't I? Well, there's might be other clues in the dream that point towards what it really symbolizes. But it's a critical insight about dreams. You know what they mean as you're dreaming them because you create them. You create them subconsciously. You must know what they mean already. But the other half of your statement there is, yes, your dream world can prepare you because of the ways that it bends reality and can be completely surreal at times to be able to handle situations that might come up in your waking life that are unusual or weird or just downright what some people would call scary. Here's one for you, Joe. People wake up and they find themselves floating above their bodies. They look down and they go, wait, that's me laying there in the bed. Yeah. What in the world is going on? And I've learned from Bob Monroe. He studied the different states of sleep, and he wanted to find out when is it that people could be leaving their bodies, as in astral travel, because Bob wrote Journeys Out of Body and created the Gateway series, Hemisync, and all that for teaching people and promoting the ability to be able to get out of body. And he said that it happens when you are in the delta stage of sleep. which is about every 90 minutes in the sleep cycle, you go through these 90-minute cycles, and it's multiple stages in a cycle. One of those stages is called delta sleep. I call it dead sleep. It's the most unconscious sleep. He said during that time that they were able to measure in the laboratory that through measuring brainwaves, that the people were leaving their bodies. He did it with himself because Bob was so adept at astral travel that he could get himself all hooked up to the machines, go to sleep, and then leave his body. And he would be able to then review what the data recorded. And he was able to show that it consistently happened naturally without effort when he was in the delta stage of sleep. So maybe that's preparing you in an odd sort of way for things that could be, that being out of body isn't such an unusual thing. What's unusual is to become aware of the fact that you're out of your body when it happens naturally and you haven't done it intentionally. And that's when people like wake up and they kind of wake up in a sense like they become lucid, but they're still asleep and they're actually their awareness is actually out of their body. And then they look down and they go, wait, I'm asleep. I was just reading at Reddit. I'm a Reddit moderator and I hang around at places like the Astral Projection subreddit. I'm moderator of the Dreams subreddit. I like browsing some of the other forums like Glitch in the Matrix and Lucid Dreaming and stuff like that, where someone had an experience like this. She's like, yeah, I was asleep, I was dreaming, and then it feels like I woke up, but I look down and I see my body, and I'm like, wait, I'm here, but my body's there. And she said it freaked her out, and she slammed back into her body and woke up with her chest pounding and her heart her heart pounding and her breath going crazy. It was because she didn't know how to deal with what she'd experienced. She didn't, most people have no idea that this stuff exists and that it happens to them too. So when they do have, call it a spontaneous experience, then it tends to freak them out. I mean, freak them out like survival is on the line, because they think that they've just died and they're rising out of their body. They look down, they see their body laying there asleep, and they think they're dead. So that immediate fear reaction kicks in, and it translates to the body with, accelerated heart rate and respiration and stuff like that.
Well, that's, I got to tell you, man, like when I saw that ghost, I always told myself if I saw like a real ghost that I would be cool. Like I'll grab my camera, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like I told myself that, but what really happened is I just, when I saw it, I had to look at it for a second and go, what the, and I was like, what the, right. And the car, so anyways, I'm at the back of the car, and there's a dollar store right across from where I live, and people walk down the road sometimes. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. Classic, right? Now everybody's asleep.
Right.
And I see this kind of like lady walking down the road.
Ghosts.
Yeah, right. So I see this lady like walking down the road, and it looks kind of like she's in her jammies or something, kind of. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is normal. People do this stuff sometimes. And a car comes down the street, and it hits her body, and her body just disappears. And then immediately my heart sped up.
Yeah.
It went because it shifted my paradigm, And I was like, oh, God. And I ran towards the porch. I ain't even thinking about getting my phone out. I'm just like trying to bail in the house because I'm wigged out. I mean, come on. Granted, I'm a big boy. I'm supposed to be tough and all. But it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep. You're all alone out there. It doesn't take much to start creeping yourself out in your mind. And then that happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you should look through the local newspaper archives and see if there was an accident on that road. Like there could have been traumatic experiences. They leave an energy imprint on the environment, and it could be a ghost in a sense, but it's really an energetic imprint that's left over of that person because they were walking down the road in the middle of the night and they got hit by a car. So that's a possibility. But another thing I would look at also is that it could be somebody who is astral traveling at that time, and you gained the eyes to be able to see them. Here is one I just saw at the Astral Projection subreddit, and anybody out there, you can still find it because I just saw it today. Go to astralprojection.reddit.com. It was a guy who said that he's an experienced astral projector. He said he's been doing it for about 10 years. Did it naturally, just was kind of teenager, started doing this and figured out what it was and continued to pursue it. And he says it happens regularly. And he said that he was in the astral state, and he got summoned into someone else's seance, and they were apparently trying to summon up trying to summon up some bad mojo or a ghost or something like that.
They were invoking a spirit or something.
They were invoking a spirit, and they actually summoned him in a sense as an astral body. And that he said that when they realized that he was actually there in the room with them, he said when he appeared, he was in their attic, and they had this kind of a set up ritually, and that they were chanting and stuff like this. And when they realized that they'd actually summoned something, he said that it just kind of shot him right out of the room and then back into his physical body. So it makes me wonder if sometimes the things that show up at seances aren't actually people who are astral traveling at the time, or if maybe what you saw was someone who was, out of body, maybe naturally, or maybe they've cultivated the ability to be able to do it, but that's actually what you saw. Just a possibility.
That seems more realistic, but I guess to my point is like, if I would have saw that in the dream state, it would have meant nothing. Like, okay, there's a lady walking down the road that's probably not supposed to be there. But I wanted to ask you about, like, I don't know, it seems like everything in the dream world is based on our emotions sometimes. Because there's just so many chaotic things that happen that just make absolutely no logical sense. And we accept it. We just accept it. I'm not saying all the time. When people become lucid, they're like, okay, this don't make sense, so I'm probably dreaming. But when you're not lucid, your mind just accepts everything. It's really strange,
Yeah, it's like you create your own movies and then you step right into the stories. And now you're an actor who's in the story that you created subconsciously in your mind. And you don't realize that it's a dream, that it's not real in the waking life sense. Some dreams are just happening basically inside of your mind and body. But there's an overemphasis in our Western culture on insisting that the dreams go no further than your own head. There are different states of dreaming which extend out from you. The next phase going out of the mind and body is into a lucid state, which is more into your energy and your aura. And then the next step out of that is into an out-of-body or astral state. So the one kind of leads to another, but you could think of them as sort of levels of complexity or levels of experience. You have the first level, ordinary dreams, second level, lucid dreams, and third level, which would be, say, astral dreams. But yeah, you accept it as it's happening, and you don't know that it's not real in the traditional sense. And maybe it is some kind of training ground. At least I think some dreams are. I think some dreams have such an energy to them. As you said, an emotion. Emotions are always present in dreams. Every dream symbol has an emotional component to it. And so there's always emotions present in dreams. But I think that sometimes, though, that there can be sort of a training for other things that you can do through the dream state, and it can prepare you for those things, whether it's preparing you to, shoot a better basketball. You've been practicing free throws all day, and then you dream about shooting free throws, and then you come back and practice the next day, and you find that you're better. This is very well accepted through the academic study of dreams, that there is a learning process that goes on in the dream state. It helps you to cross-reference between various areas of your brain and nervous system for them to be able to coordinate better. There's also a very creative side of dreams that help you to think unconventionally and to bring other parts of the mind into the thinking process that aren't necessarily logical or rational. It really helps with the intuitive and creative sides of things. But maybe in this also sometimes I think that there are dreams that show you that there's a broader reality, and that maybe you are introduced to that in the dream state so that then you will pursue it in your waking life.
Gotcha.
Such as if you have a dream about an afterlife or God or...
We got to take a break here, JM, but I want to pick up off where you're leaving off right here because I got some more questions about that. Stay with us. More JM Debord coming up.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
This is Al. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing his journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath, no garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves! Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
I'm Ryan Gable of the Secret Teachings Radio Show, and you're listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM. Check out my show, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, right here on The Fringe, 11 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, U.S. time.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Our guest tonight, J.M. Debord, dreams123.com. The other websites are worth mentioning too. Man, when it comes to the dream world, you're really like killing it, you know? I think that's cool. We're just talking before the break about, I do want to mention this too. Like, I know people think that, like you were saying, like it's all in the mind or whatever. There's people that believe that. I just really do not believe that. Like you were mentioning Robert Monroe earlier, and he kept, in his books, he kept talking about this locale one, which is something we're doing with the Patreons and the Astral Journal for the patrons. And I told him, I said, look, let's the thing's dedicated to the out of body experience, by the way, but I said, let's just go back. Let's go back to step one of the vibratory state. And now we got like Macon and a few other people, like they're getting to the vibratory state, but it's getting out of body that is the issue. And you were mentioning earlier that the delta state, that Robert said that's when that happens, right? So
naturally,
yeah. So I think when I remember that I got out in locale one, I could actually see what was happening in the physical world. That's how I think everything, I know everything's attached. Like it's all just one big realm of consciousness and maybe different density levels, maybe, if I'm making any sense.
Yeah. Vibration and density level. Yeah. Energetic. It's energy. We live in a sea of energy, and your consciousness is a form of energy, and it has the ability to interface with the rest of the energy. So it's a drop in the ocean, and it's an ocean of freaking energy. So, you have the ability to be able to shift that perspective. And some people say that you're actually bringing it to you, kind of like what Edgar Cayce did. He had these kind of out of body and remote viewing type of experiences, and the way that he explained it was that he was actually tapping into something and bringing the information to him. He was tapping into what some people call the Akashic records. There's a lot of different names for it, but he's able to read things through his own subconscious mind that connects into a larger collective conscious mind, and he pulls the information in. So if he wants to know that, Joe Roop, he's given an address and a name, Joe Roop in upstate New York, and he would send his mind in a way, you think of it as sending his mind to you, but what he's really doing is bringing you into his own mind. And he's able to see, like he would be able to see exactly what you're doing right now. Where are you sitting? What's on the wall? He would be able to feel what you're feeling. He would know what was going on in your body. He'd be like, Joe needs to, get more sunlight because he has a vitamin D deficiency, something like that. Just stop speaking off the top of my head. Yeah. But he's pulling that information into him. So sometimes when we think of an out of body experience, maybe we're not thinking of it correctly, because you're not actually having to leave your body. The entire universe is within you. And you're able to sort of experience it as, call it a fractal. The other place, the surface of the moon. Okay, well, that's 200 and some odd 100,000 miles away, right? Well, you think of it, if you went to astral project and you find yourself on the surface of the moon, are you actually on the surface of the moon? Or are you loading in all of the information that shows the surface of the moon, but you're loading it into where you are now? It's like you're on the holodeck, but you're in your dreams. The holodeck being from Star Trek, where you program the computer to have a simulation. Well, your dreams are in dream states, and we need to be clear about this because there are layers of dream states, like lucid dreaming and out of body is also a dream state. And so you're bringing that into the holodeck that is your dreams, and you're loading the information in. The information about what it's like to be on the surface of the moon is readily available anywhere in the universe where there's a conscious being that wants to pull the information in. So it gets so deep that I think though that conceptually that you need to maybe think more, and when I say you, I just mean anyone listening and who's interested in this subject, is to start maybe thinking of it more as pulling this information into you. You mentioned the vibratory state. This is commonly known for when you're learning how to, it's just before you leave your body and astral project. Some people have intense vibrations, some people don't. But here's what's actually happening, the way I understand it, is that you're falling asleep, but you're doing it while you're conscious and awake. And this is a skill that, like my friend Steve Rogat, who's been your guest, and he's a shamanic practitioner. He says that this is a skill that you can develop to stay awake as you're falling asleep. My friend Ian Wilson over at Dreaming for Gamers is teaching people how to program their dreams to have these virtual reality experiences. Ian's also been on your show.
Yeah, he
teaches you also to stay awake as you're falling asleep.
Yeah.
But what happens is that when your body goes into sleep paralysis, the first thing that happens is that you get the vibrations. And so that is sort of the threshold. You have to be able to keep yourself very calm, even though there's something very weird happening with your body. But what you're actually doing is falling asleep and going into the dream state. And now you have much deeper access into subconscious parts of your mind, and you can start pulling that information in. You can say, okay, I want to have an experience of, fighting the Sith in a Star Wars scenario. Ian teaches you that you can actually program your dreams this way. Or, hey, let's turn it around. I want to be the Sith. Like in your dreams, you're allowed to do it because it's your freaking dreams. It's your movie. And in fact, you can experience things in dreams that maybe you wouldn't dare do in your waking life. For moral reasons or ethical reasons or whatever, but you can actually experience it in your dreams so that you can find out that there is this, maybe darker part of yourself. Carl Jung said that you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light. You become enlightened by making the darkness conscious. In other words, the darkness that is within you. This is the path to sainthood, in a way. Let me be clear. I'm not meaning in a more literal sense, although maybe that's true. But what he said specifically is that it was the path to enlightenment. And the point being is that you can experience this in your dreams, and it's a safe space to experience it in.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up Ian too, because we promote Dreaming for Gamers here. Like if you use the code word Fringe, you get a certain amount off and stuff. And there, believe it or not, people, awesome. Dude, people are like signing up to that thing left and right. I actually had one person be like, "This is crazy. You can't actually do that. There's no way." And it was because Ian's telling people, he's like, "Yeah, you can have recall up to the point where you can use pretty much all of your five senses, like all of them, like you would in real life."
Yes.
And you don't think that you can do that, but you guys, it's like, wait, though. I've had dreams where, we don't have to get into too much detail here, where every sense has worked. Smell, everything. And it's just so crazy, actually, when you think about it, because it's like, then it really starts to shake up your paradigm. Like you're saying, what is this? Right? It's just nothing but energy. So they say, well, it's a meat suit or whatever. But man, I don't even know. Like there's something about exploring these realms. At some point I get to where I'm like, I don't know what's real anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what's real anymore.
Yeah, I do. And I think that's the good time to stick your feet in some running water and ground yourself.
Yeah, like take a shower. Yeah.
Yeah, or just anything that's grounding for you, so that you're connected to the earth and to material reality. I know what you mean, though, in a larger sense. I'm just kind of throwing out there that anybody who's experiencing these things, like I hear the commercials about the lady who can help people who've had these, traumatic paranormal experiences, and she helps them with like EFT and stuff like that. And that's really cool. What you're looking to do when you have these experiences is to ground yourself into your everyday reality. And that's part of that is the experience within your own body, the slow regulated breathing. Dan Winter, who's an electrical engineer who is taught all kinds of things about Kundalini and stuff like that, says that one of the things he does, because he regularly explores these other realms, he says that there's sometimes that he needs to do just simple grounding exercises.
Yeah.
And what he likes to do is stick his feet into water. I did it before I went on the air tonight. About an hour before we went on the air, I went out to my pool and I stood there and I did, it's called standing like a tree. It's a Qigong. It's a posture basically of just a straight spine, a relaxed stance. And I like to do it with my feet in the water because I feel like I get grounded. I do the slow regulated breathing, not really forcing anything, just focused on my breathing, doing these things, because then that equips you to go off and do these really cool things where you can, have these experience of things that are outside of the norm. We're being pushed into a box in a way by the pressures coming in from society, the messages that we should all just kind of stay home, duck our heads, forget that there's a larger world out there, and plug ourselves into our electronics. And it's trying to take us away from having this deeper awareness of ourselves, of what we're truly capable of, and what the world really is, as floating in a sea of energy that is the universe. That the material world is floating atop a much deeper world. The material world is the boat on the ocean. Well, look at an ocean sometime compared to a boat and ask yourself which one is bigger. There's much deeper layers to this. And we, as conscious beings, came into body so that we can have a unique experience of it. When we're in spirit, these things are readily accessible to us, and they're just fact. It's kind of like the fish is in water, and the fish, and they ask them what water is, and the fish is like, well, it's just a fact. It just is, That's what all these things are from that other point of view of kind of unlimited knowledge and in a spiritual perspective. But we come into body so that we can do more with it and develop it. Even, what Bob said about some of his experiences and what he learned from it is that he said that every experience you have in the physical teaches you something that carries with you over to the spiritual. He said even learning to stand on one foot, learning how to balance your body like that. He said that there is a spiritual equivalent of it, and that you find that when you're no longer in your body, that when you're just pure energy or spirit, that these things that you learned while you were in your body translate over. Now, everybody experiences learning how to balance on one leg, presuming you have legs. But what if you're going further with it? You're learning how to have lucid dreams, how to program your dreams, like Ian teaches. You're learning how to leave your body. You're learning how to meditate, how to calm your mind, how to focus. There are things that you can't even, you can't know everything that it's doing for you, but just simply doing it is going to have so much benefit for you. But there is a entropic force that is counter to all of that. It's trying to put a blanket over our eyes. It's trying to snuff out our consciousness, to limit it, and eventually to take it over through technology. And we are living in an age right now when this is getting closer and closer to becoming reality. There have always been forces of repression against these things. And in one sense, we are living in an age when you have access to information and you have the freedom to explore and experience these things like no other time in recorded history. I mean, if you want to, a couple hundred years ago, let's just say, or even 50 years ago, and you went around talking about seeing ghosts and having astral experiences, they'd lock your ass up or burn you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's how people reacted to this stuff. There were very, very strong forces of repression in society.
That's what they say. Witch, warlock
history.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so, you would be lucky if you just got locked up in an insane asylum. I mean, it could be worse. But the point being is that we've gone through this evolution where now you can find out what the Tibetan yogis do to, their specific techniques that they learn. You can go look up Wim Hof, who's teaching these breathing techniques for, psychotropic type experiences to Westerners. He's putting it into Western language. He's become this bridge, and he's just one of thousands of people who are teaching this stuff. We have access to this knowledge, to these practices like never before in our history. So we're in a kind of a golden age that way, but there's something that's heading now in the opposite direction, which wants to keep us from really knowing our true power and capacity, what our true potential is. That wants us to know that there is absolutely nothing to fear, nothing. That fear is one of your main obstacles, in fact, to having these experiences like out of body. I mean, what happened to the girl when she woke up, in a sense, like became lucid and she saw herself out of her body? She reacted with fear. And what happened? She slammed back into her body. Her awareness slammed back into her body. The fear pulled her back. You can go into a dream world and face these fears so that then it opens up more capacity and potential for growth. But as we were talking about before we went on the air, that there's these other forces that are happening, and with the virus and all this stuff, it's this fear machine that is just beating people down. I'm seeing this from people very close to me to just what I'm witnessing in society. People are just, this has been going on for a long time now, and it is really having a deep effect on people. And the fear, I think this is the beginning of something. It's almost like a dark magic spell that is being cast over the entire society to get us to live in fear and to once again withdraw back into superstitions, into, kind of living in our own little shells, and to not explore and find out what these other things are that are available to us and what we truly are as creatures of energy. Were you going in that direction, Joe? I realize.
Because
with that, maybe.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. My whole thing is about trying to figure out what this thing we call consciousness is, and that's always been a phrase when you say that. People are like, well, that's the woo-woo side of things, when you shut your eyes and go to sleep, or meditation. But I think I think consciousness and energy is everything, right? Because people are there's more people into magic now than ever before. And I'm starting to understand how it works. And it's like, okay, well, you don't have to call it magic. It's simple, right? Like, you have a thought, you play on your subconscious via symbolism, color, whatever, symbols, and you have an emotion, you cast it, and it like brings it back to you, But
yeah.
But if you start,
so that means you're doing magic all the time in a way, even if you don't know you're doing it. You're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you go around and you start thinking, if you're all in your head all the time thinking crazy stuff, and it causes you to have an emotion, and it manifests, it comes into life. Maybe not instantly, but it happens, and that's literally just happened to me and a few other people too. Where everything just gets shaken up and like, what the hell happened? We want to blame everybody else, but seriously, if we think about it, it's like, well, what were you thinking about before all this stuff happened? Were you focused on something? Were you dwelling on a thought? Did it cause you to feel fear?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, we don't really know what we're doing.
Emotion is the food that feeds it too, and it will manifest whatever. If you take your thoughts and back it with emotion, and that's manifestation right there. So you want to be very, very careful about the things that you think about, and then how the emotions that go into it. But you can also turn that around, and you can use it for manifesting the things that you want to have in your life.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
There was something that I learned. I was a kind of a traditional Christian growing up, and I went through a phase as a teenager where I was really deep into prayer groups and studying the Bible and stuff like that. And I remember running across something. It was in one of the Gospels, and it said to believe that your prayers are answered as you're praying.
Right.
That you give thanks for it. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a cool idea. I'm 17 at the time. I'm just a babe. And so I started trying as I was praying, I'd be like, and God, bless my mother and father and help my, brother with the cold that he has and, whatever, and I would be like, I would feel it like you've really done it. You responded to the prayer already, and I would feel the gratitude of it.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the things that I directed my prayer energy at in that sort of way had amazing results.
Yeah.
It wasn't always a direct thing, otherwise I would have been like a faith healer or something, but it was this thing that I noticed that it really does happen. And it's because I believed that it would happen. So that's the thought. But there was the energy of gratitude and thanks that went into it that fed the energy into the prayer and actually made the things that I prayed for manifest.
Right. Or you visualized it and it comes to pass in its own time, in its own way. I just think like there's two mindsets here, and you could take the dream world and look at it this way too. Like, either life's happening to you or life's happening for you. Now, most people think life's not happening for me because I got all this shit in my life, right? Well, what in the hell are you doing in your mind? What are you saying? What are you feeling? Because when you say something, you think it and you feel it and you visualize it, that's more powerful than people think. And we do it daily, right? And then we wonder why everything sucks. But then you meet these people, it seems like, man, they're just the luckiest people in the world. Well, sit down and talk to them for a little while. Check out their attitude. See what it's like. You know what I mean? It's really obvious.
Yeah, I do.
When you get to a certain point. Because I've been in that victim mentality for a long time. Like, I grew up, there's so many people who've had hard lives, man. We had bad things that happened to us, But I just think that the collective has something to do with it too. Like, we can't control what the collective is doing, so we're constantly trying to react to that. But I wonder sometimes when we get in the dream world, how we can use that to our advantage. But it's just so chaotic. It's just so chaotic there,
You opened a door there, my friend. I can teach you some of the dream yogi arts here. This is also through Carl Jung, so it's grounded in Western psychology also. There is a way of working with the things that happen in your dreams so that you can reprogram them in a way. So let me give you an example. If something happens in a dream that upsets you or disturbs you or that you wish that you could change. And so when you're awake, you get yourself very relaxed, you pull in the dream memory, and then you see the way that you want the change. You see that point in the dream. Steve Rogat calls it the turning point. You see the turning point and you go, I want it to go in this other direction. And then you program it like you're rewriting the movie. The dream is like a movie. It already played out and you're thinking of the memory of it. And now you are the director or you're the screenwriter and you can go back and rewrite the movie. And here is what you're doing. The dream symbols and the dream itself is a gateway into deeper parts of yourself. And those parts of yourself are expressing themselves mostly through the objects, the characters, the settings, but also through the dream actions. These things are expressions of deeper parts of yourself. And you have access to those parts of yourselves through the interface of the dream. So you can get into the deep psychology of yourself and you can actually reprogram it. And all you got to do is creatively play with the dream. Carl Jung calls it the active imagination technique. And so what he would do with his patients and clients is he would take them back into the dream. They'd be in his office. He's, there's Dr. Jung, and the famous psychiatrist. You're sitting in the chair across from him. So now I'm hearing the music. Do you want to pick up on this?
Yeah,
when
let's
we get
talk
back?
about active imagination.
Talk about active imagination.
Yeah, when we come back.
Yeah,
for
sure.
We'll be right back.
This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Have you ever wanted to dream about being a character in your favorite video game or movie? Would you like to dream your fantasy with all 5 senses in detail and remember everything? It's time to bring the dreaming mind back online. Introducing Dreaming for Gamers from Ian Wilson.
Dreaming for Gamers will teach you how to program your dreams to dream what you want from any video game, movie, or source material that you choose. The courses help rehabilitate the dreaming mind out of atrophy so you can remember your dreams, taste, touch, smell, see, and hear, as well as be self-aware and take complete control over the dream state like Neo in The Matrix. You can't catch COVID in a dream, but you can wake up with a happy ending.
Type in thefringe.fm/dreamplay and sign up today to get dreaming now. That's thefringe.fm/dreamplay, or click the banner at thefringe.fm today and take the 7-day dream challenge for free while it lasts.
This is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling. The ground shook. You could hear rushing water. And then, history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails. Stores with their shelves stripped bare. ATMs can't operate. Deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand 3 truths. FEMA is broke. The system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in 1 business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
The Liberator Rocket Heater will heat your home for free. The highly efficient Liberator Rocket Heater has no moving parts. It's safe and strong, constructed of 1/4-inch steel. So like all things made in the USA, it's built to last. Uses any kind of wood, sticks, even scrap in its gravity-fed firebox. And it heats workshops, homes, garages, outbuildings, industrial areas, and barns. Watch the video of this blast furnace stove in action. Visit rocketheater.com. That's rocketheater.com.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. The trio of astronauts currently living and working on the International Space Station reopened the hatch between the Russian and American sides of the station on Tuesday, according to NASA spokesperson Dan Hewitt. Space.com reports support staff will continue to evaluate the situation. Ground controllers continue to search for the source of a small air leak on the orbiting lab, which NASA officials stress poses no threat to the space flyers.
Okay, my green hook is closed and locked. My half is dry.
Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko closing the hatch between the crew lock and equipment lock portions of the Quest Air.
One green light. Ready to see it. Let me, Julia, I'm looking at your way. Am I clear the arm? Clear the arm. Julia, clear the arm right now.
The original plan called for the trio to have the run of the full station again by last Monday, but ground teams need a little more time to conduct their work. We've never met some of the sun's closest neighbors until now. In a new study, astronomers report the discovery of 95 objects known as brown dwarfs, many within a few dozen light years of the sun, according to a release from NASA. They're well outside the solar system, so don't experience heat from the sun, but still inhabit a region astronomers consider our cosmic neighborhood. Members of the public help make these discoveries through Backyard Worlds, Planet 9, a NASA-funded citizen science project that is a collaboration between volunteers and professional scientists. Backyard Worlds incorporates data from NASA's Near-Earth Object Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer satellite, along with all sky observations collected between 2010 and 2011, were also instrumental in the analysis. There's more news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-Drift.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're in the second hour here with our guest, J.M. Debord, tonight. If you want to support this show, you can go to lightingthevoid.com and donate or join the memberships at patreon.com/LTV radio. Before the break, we were discussing JM's new website, as well as everything when it comes to consciousness, the out-of-body experience, you name it. But actually, as we took the break, we were talking about active imagination, Carl Jung's active imagination. And I think we have, sometimes, I was just talking to you about this during the break, we feel like we have these curses sometimes in our lives, JM, and I can give you an example of one, and then maybe we could talk about how we could use that active imagination to defeat that. Like, maybe a person really feels like that when it comes to, I don't know, money, right? Let's say they feel like they never get financial luck, or they never get a break, or they're always going to be poor. And they have this program running in their head that they're always going to be poor and unsuccessful and things like that. How could we use Carl Jung's method of active imagination, just any kind of example? How could we use that to defeat that in our lives and change our physical world from our dream world?
Yeah. Well, remember where we left off, that the dream is an interface to something deeper within you. And so once you know how dreams work, you can sift through your dream content to see if there's anything related to that idea that has been provided by your dream already. The idea of money and the problem or issue that you're having with it. It would show itself as some kind of symbolism, but it's symbolism that's like a metaphor, and we use metaphors all the time. So it's not really that difficult to find, what would be, any metaphor that is involving the idea of money and loss or not having enough of it. Here's one that I've had where I go to the store and I don't have any money I want this thing, but I don't have the money in my wallet to pay for it. So there's already, the dream is giving me this idea where I go, okay, well, let me begin there. The dream painted a picture, and now I'm going to step into it, but I'm awake now, and I have the memory of the dream, and I'm going to get myself relaxed. I'm going to make sure that I regulate my breathing. Underline that 3 times. When you're doing this kind of work, you have to make sure that you continue breathing deeply and slowly, because as the emotions of this stuff hits, what's your first thing that most people are going to do is their breathing freezes or it gets really tight and shallow. So you have to regulate and keep that good flow of breath going. So now you've just pictured yourself in the scene, in that dream. It's a memory now, but you can use your imagination, and it's fine. It has the same effect. You go into the scene and you go, this time when I open up my wallet, I'm going to see it's stuffed full of, green, beautiful cash. And you're going to feel good when you pull that money out and you give it to the clerk or whatever to pay for the thing that you want. And you're going to say to yourself, there's plenty more where this came from. There's plenty of money in the world, and I can have my share of it. And I don't need to feel bad about that. I don't need to feel deficient about it. This is some kind of programming that has made me feel this way. Maybe you were poor growing up, or maybe you're not very good with your finances, or whatever it is, but there's some reason why you feel this way about it now. But what you're doing by changing and working with the dream and changing the story of the dream to a way that is empowering for you, you are now sending that energy into the subconscious parts of your mind that then reach out and help you to manifest the things in your life. But remember what we said about putting emotion behind it too. Manifestation is thought backed by emotion. So you have the thought of, related to money. You have the emotion in that moment when you reach in there, see that money and what it feels like. I mean, that's a good feeling, man, when you open your purse or your wallet or whatever and you see all those bills sitting there.
Just stacked.
I don't care if they're singles, but it's nice when they're hundreds, but whatever, Now, I did this with picturing the check that comes in the mail, because I get royalty checks and stuff like that as an author. And I would picture the check, and I didn't have to see a number. What I pictured was my reaction, that I open up the envelope, I look at the check, and I go, awesome. And it's just the feeling, because I looked at it and I go, this is the money that I need to be able to do the things with it that I want to do. To provide the security, but also to provide the experiences. Yeah, now I can hop on a plane and go to that place I've always wanted to go to because I have the money to do it. Yeah, and it's feeling the emotion of it. That will reprogram you. You can also use, if you don't have a specific dream memory that's related to something that you want to work on, you've got enough experience with dreams that you can just pull up an idea. Remember, it's like a metaphor. If you were afraid to take a leap of faith in a way, it's like, oh, I've got this opportunity to move to New York and get out of the shack in Arkansas, but I'm afraid to do it. Okay, well, that's a leap of faith. And that that things are going to be okay, but you don't know until you get to the other side, man. You got to make the leap, right?
Yeah.
So what would be a dream metaphor for a leap of faith, You see yourself standing on a big, like
bungee
on
jumping,
a mountain, and down below you is a lake, and that you got to jump. So just do it. Do it in your imagination so that you can overcome the fear of it. See yourself emerging out of the water and getting to the place where you need to go, and everything is okay. And then that way you're addressing the feelings and thoughts and stuff that might be preventing you from making the leap of faith in the first place.
Yeah, and I think we got to be like, another thing too is I think we got to be really honest with ourselves. I mean, I can't tell you like how many conversations I've had or done this myself where I tell people and myself, I'm okay. I know I'm going to be successful. Or you just tell yourself something that really deep down, that you don't necessarily believe, or you got a different program and you're trying to convince yourself that you believe that. So like, I feel like if we don't get to the subconscious or what we actually feel and believe, then we're going to have a hell of a time trying to deprogram it. If we're just constantly lying to ourselves all the time,
Yep. And all the positive thinking in the world will not do a damn bit of good if it doesn't reach into the subconscious parts of your mind, because they're the ones that actually create the manifestation. In the Huna system of shamanic practice that came out of Hawaii, I read Rod Steinberg's book on this subject. And, Steve Rogat also is, he's a Huna practitioner. And what they teach you is that there are kind of three levels to you. There's a lower, a middle, and an upper. The lower is the subconscious. The middle is the conscious, it's the ego, and the upper is the spirit or superego, if you want to use Freud's conception of it. And that when you manifest, it's not coming from the middle. The middle can kind of form the idea of what it is that it wants to manifest, but it's the lower that actually sends the energy out to make it happen. So that if you say, I want $1 million, I want to manifest $1 million. Well, does everything inside of you agree with that? Yeah. Or is there some little voice inside of you that says, man, if I had $1 million, I'd be a freaking junkie, or, I'd become the biggest dickhead,
I'm in Vegas for sure.
Yeah, I would waste it. It would, whatever it is, just through the feeling that comes up. You say, I want $1 million. I want to manifest $1 million. Well, what does your body say to you? Because the subconscious is felt throughout the entire nervous system, and the entire nervous system is a receiver for things. Like, it's not just in your head, it's in your body. And so what does your body tell you when you say these things to yourself? Can you get those parts of yourself to agree? I've also found that in the body is a lot of memory, and the memory goes all the way back to the first memories that you've formed. So there might be a lot of things down in there that are influencing you, but they're not vocalized in a way through inner dialogue. They're just felt and sensed. But it might have been so long ago that you forgot, I want $1 million. Yeah. Well, do you remember when you were 6 years old and you were caught, stealing $1 out of mom's purse? Just to use this as an example. And you felt very shamed of yourself, and you were punished or whatever, but it created a memory of an experience that was traumatic for you. But it was so long ago that all that's left is this residual feeling that you don't deserve to have that money. There's something that's left over in you.
Right.
The memory is still trapped and contained in your body. And so that's why you listen to the body to find out what is batting around in you subconsciously, so that when you do manifest, that you can make these statements clearly and with intent. And if you can't, then you know that there's something going on inside of you that you need to find where it is. You need to find the memory, and then you need to address the emotion that's behind the memory. And by the way, anybody who does Bob Monroe's series in Hemisync will know that there is, I think it's on CD2, where he teaches you an exercise for being able to go in and find these things that are batting around in you subconsciously, so that you can remove these barriers, because they're not only barriers to manifestation, they're barriers to, well, if you're doing Bob's system, to astral travel. And you can use your dreams as a training ground for this stuff. You don't even have, now, if you use Ian's system, you can program the dream by filling your mind with a plot and a story that you want to, have play out in your dreams. If you want to have a Star Wars dream, you've pictured it in your head like you're the director of a new Star Wars movie, or you do a Star Wars binge before, and then you go to bed with all that Star Wars imagery in your mind. But what we're talking about with active imagination is you can use your imagination to create these scenarios. And here's one of the reasons why it works, Joe. There was a study of brain scans that showed when people use their imagination and when people are dreaming. And guess what? You're using the same parts of your brain for both processes. The imagination uses many different centers within the brain, and there's a way that it coordinates with itself. You can see it in the patterns of electrical firing in the brain. When you use your imagination and when you're dreaming, the same centers of the brain light up with the same coordination and patterning. Imagination and dreaming are basically the same thing, except when you're dreaming, your senses are turned off, and it's using your imagination in a way. It's like there's no interference from the senses and there's no interference from the rational mind. Now the imagination can be used very vividly and powerfully. There's no distractions from what the imagination is producing. It's producing this imagery, it's producing an experience, and it has all the sensations in your body that go along with it. So now it's fully immersed in this imaginatory experience. Well, when you're awake and using your imagination, the difference is that you're still getting input from your senses and your rational mind is on. So what does that tell you? When you do this kind of work for active imagination, you get as little sensory input as you can. In other words, you're laying down in a comfortable place or sitting in a sort of a meditative position. You're comfortable so that you're not being distracted by heat or cold or something like that. You're a quiet place. You're not distracted by sound. If there's a smell in the environment, you want it to be pleasant, maybe burning incense, something like that. But what you're doing is that you're making the senses have very little input, and then you're slowing down and the dialogue of the rational mind. When you do that, you can basically produce your own dream in a waking state. And this is something that Steve Rogat has been teaching me for lucid dreaming. One of the things it can begin with is he says to find a place in a dream where you could have become conscious of the fact that it was a dream, and you program your mind to, next time that scenario comes up or a scenario like it, to realize that it is a dream. And it will start to happen. It happened to me spontaneously. I was just doing the exercise. I would come up, in the morning, I write down my dreams. Okay, da-da-da-da-da. And then I go, yeah, that was an odd thing that happened in the dream. Like, that would really stand out to me as something that if I would have been conscious at the time while I'm dreaming, but I'm lucid, so I'm aware, I'm conscious in a sense. And I would go, yeah, I could have at that point, I could have become lucid in the dream. So I'm going to reimagine that I'm in the dream, and I'm going to say that I'm actually dreaming. I'm using my imagination now. I'm awake. I'm picturing the dream, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute. This weird thing just happened. This is a dream. That means I can be lucid. Okay, now let's start the process of lucidity. And I have a program in my mind, like a plot. The first thing I like to do is fly, because all I got to do is just say lift, and I'll just take off right off the ground.
Right.
But what I've noticed would happen is that just by doing the exercise, it wouldn't be the trigger that I programmed into my mind. I would just be going along in a dream, there I am in my kitchen, and I go, wait, it's a dream. How do I know that? I don't know. It looks like my kitchen, or maybe it doesn't, but I don't know the difference because I'm dreaming. But it's like there's nothing that's striking me as unreal that's triggering my awareness of the fact that it's a dream. It would just happen. Like, wow, that's cool. And I think it's just that by doing this work, you're building on top of it. It's sending energy into a place inside of you where it kind of gets stored, and it's able to just sort of spontaneously pop out into the dream process and allow you to become lucid. But it all goes back to reprogramming the dream in a way that allows you to use that content in an imaginative sort of way, and using an active imagination technique that's like taught by Carl Jung, which I've just basically taught you how to do it, and then start reprogramming the things that you want to reprogram, or not just reprogramming, but programming the things that you want, using the thought and the emotion. Seeing that check that comes into your hand, and it's enough money that would make you just burst out laughing and dance for joy. Feel it now, though. See it happening. And that energy will draw those things into your life. But you have to make sure that when you're in that state and you're using your imagination to see that check in your hands, that you have a 100% agreement from inside of you that this is good for you, you know? Or is there that little voice in the back of your mind that's going, oh, you just blow the money anyway, you know, or something like that, you know? You'd lose the check on the way to the bank. That'd be just like you.
Or you know,
make sure that those voices get addressed.
Something bad's going to happen and you're not going to get to keep it, you know, something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now you got all this money, and that means you're going to, you know, attract someone's attention, and your house is going to get robbed, and they're going to come take all your money, you know, whatever it is. But you can manifest those things too. So you want to be, of course, careful about that, because your imagination is a very powerful thing. It's the interface to these deeper parts of you. And, you know, when you do something like magic, you know, what are you really doing? You're using your mind to imagine something, and you're putting your emotion behind it. Some people need to do rituals and, you know, chant in other languages and do all the, you know, have objects like, you know, swords and rings and bowls and, you know, statues, and they need to and call on the gods and invoke them, whatever, you know, not to, and I don't say that in a way that belittles it. It's something that makes them believe that they can manifest the thing that they're doing magically. So it works on the same sort of idea, I think, and from my experience with this subject, is that you're actually doing basic manifestation. It's just you've chosen a system for doing it that is a magic system, as opposed to a system for doing it that is, you know, an active imagination system, or a system for doing it that's like a Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who taught how to manifest in your life, law of attraction, stuff like that. It's all the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, like some people might want, you know, to get something done faster. So they'll like invoke the planetary energy of Mars or something, because they know that's been going on for millennia and it works. And for some reason, their subconscious accepts it. That's the way I look at it. Like, if my subconscious accepts it,
and they believe it,
it'll work, you know?
It was like the prayer, you know, when I learned how to believe that your prayers are being answered as you are praying them, and to feel the gratitude of it. It was, I mean, I really think something was responding to me. In fact, I know it was, but at the same time, it takes two to tango with these things, and I had to believe it at the time. So if you believe that, you know, there's a lot of Mars energy out there right now, and you can tap into that energy and you can use it to manifest things in your life, good for you. You know, you don't have to believe in an almighty. You can use your own power. And I don't think it's going to offend the Almighty, you know, like you created the freaking universe. What do you care what people believe? You know, you put them into these situations so that they can learn their true nature as co-creators, as little pieces of you. You know, you're God, and humans are little pieces of you. You know, like, what do you care what they believe? As long as they're learning from it, the things that you want them to learn, which is that they have the power of creation in their own hands.
Yeah, I think if we understood this, that we would be, that happiness, or whatever we call happiness, would be easier. I mean, what I mean by this is like, okay, I was talking to a friend today, and they literally like tell me that they don't care about anything anymore, right? But they constantly talk about having a companion or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not being honest with yourself. Like, you do care. You do. This is what you want. You know, this is what your heart wants. So why don't you just get involved with how to manifest that? And it's like this program of, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how I do it. It doesn't matter whatever. Everything's just going to suck. Everything's going to go to crap. It doesn't matter. Now, at some point, no matter how much I care or love a person or whatever, you start to say, how can I can't change this about this person. So you try to set an example, you see, and this is where I get tossed up, because we can change ourselves for sure. But what if we're trying to help somebody else? How do we use a dream world? Or how can we tell them to use? You see what I mean? Maybe we shouldn't at all.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should just be like, okay,
you give them
get
the
away
tools
from
and the information, but it's not your responsibility to
Right.
change them. But you can give them the tools and the information. As I get older, I find that the relationships we have with people, especially people close to us, but just people in general, that right there, that is the ball game. They're all pieces of the same creator, the same spiritual, energetic source, however you want to think of it. We're all coming from the same thing. You look at another person and their circumstances in their life, and that could just as easily be you.
Right.
If you had been born into the circumstances, if you had been born into their body, that could just as easily be you. So when you see them and you're trying to help them to overcome or work through a problem or get over their bitterness or learn how to manifest or whatever it is, when you see them, see yourself. And when you talk to them, you're talking to the part of yourself that is part of them, because it is actually true. There's the fractal nature of the universe means that all of the information that makes up you, the being that you are, all the way down to the particle level, all of that is fractally available everywhere else in the universe, including in the mind and body of that other person, and vice versa. It's all there down to the smallest level. The entire universe is contained in each of its parts. Maybe not at the highest resolution, that you get down to these very, very small parts, and we're talking like Planck scale parts, the smallest units of measurement that we have. But it's all there. And all of the information, at least the outline of it, is there in the smallest parts. And the information is available to you. You can know what that other person is going through in a very vivid and personal way. You can experience it yourself if you can imagine that you are a part of them and they are part of you. If you can you can literally put yourself into their shoes.
Well, especially
and
I think
see
we
and
do people
experience from their eyes.
Yeah, and I think we do people a disservice too, like when we've actually been in that position and we overcame it in our life, however we did it, and we see a person in that position and we don't help them. We're like, well, I'm not dealing with that. I've already done this. But like, why not? Why not? There's a reward on the other side of that. Not saying you got to do things for rewards, but isn't that what you're supposed to do, is like help people figure that stuff out? If you care. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. And it does. I mean, at that point, you're a warrior for the light, and usually the reward for a job well done when you're a warrior for the light is you get more work. So,
you get more work piled on you. Yeah.
But it also means you never have to worry about yourself again, because everything that you need will be given to you. Even if you have to go all the way to the bottom, you have to write it out all the way to the bottom. What you need, the resources will be given. You will have them. But this is when you're not living in a self-serving sort of way anymore. Mm-hmm. But that means that you've been through, you've been through the fire. You've changed. You've transformed. Yeah. And you've been through the spiritual experience that makes you into the person who can now get outside of yourself and stop just serving your own needs anymore. And you can see that other person and truly have compassion and empathy for them, as if you are looking at yourself. Absolutely. Because you really are.
Absolutely. All right. Well, look, this is the last break here we're going to take tonight. J.M. Debord's here with us. We'll take your phone calls, too, if you want to call in at 1-800-588-0335. You can also join the Fringe FM chat room by going to thefringe.fm/chat room. Stay with us. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up.
Listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting Station, The Fringe FM.
The night is young, so turn up the heat with your host, Joe Root, on Lighting the Void on The Fringe FM.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. We spend almost as much time online as sleep, and that's 6 to 8 hours a day. The internet knows a lot about us, and that's why we should care about our online data. Use Surfshark to encrypt your personal information and send it via a secure VPN tunnel so that no one can see it without your permission. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers. You need to protect yourself from surveillance and targeted advertising. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and Spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public, so if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a Void Walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a Void Walker.
G'day, Void Walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a Void Walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner Void Walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Roop in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a Void Walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a Void Walker. Thanks, Joe Roop.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. J.M. Debord, our guest tonight. Don't forget, after the show, the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable every night here on the Fringe FM, 5 nights a week. It's pretty cool to actually have both the late night hosts in the same place We just got to get everybody else out to the compound, and we'll be good. So, J.M. Debord, our guest tonight, I wanted to kind of go like maybe towards the spiritual realm here a little bit with this, and just sometimes I notice things happen when we're not ourselves, or I don't know. It seems like that this spiritual war that people talk about, this, I don't know if you want to call it angels and demons, parasites, light, dark, whatever you want to call it. It seems like there are definitely types of entities or things like that just come in and just take over the room. And when it's all over, you're like, what the hell was that? Like, that's not me, or that's not that person. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I've experienced it, man. I've seen it happen. You know, I told you I was very much into the Bible when I was younger. I was, prayer groups and Christian study and stuff like that. And I had all kinds of things happen to me that were, it just seemed like it was divine intervention or interplay with divine beings or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I had one time we went to, in Columbus, Ohio, we were a part of a youth group, and we went to this, it was a big for this entire faith. I forget what they were, Methodist or something like that. And I was a new member of this group, and we had this weird thing happen where we were all getting the van to go to the convention center, and the pastor had something. He needed someone to like grab a parking spot because it was available, downtown Columbus, Ohio. And we're like, so I jump out of I'm like, I'll do it. And I jump out of the van. Next thing I know, I'm separated from them. And I'm like, well, the convention center is right down the road here. I'll just walk down there and I'll. So I go walking down the road, and there's two convention centers, and, like one's on the right, one's on the left. I'm like, well, I'll go to the one on the left. This feels right. I end up going in there. They're having a big youth conference with all these, thousands of Christian teenagers and speakers and all this. Had a super powerful, dynamic experience there. Walking home, I run across this street person. I start preaching the word because they said you need to be spread the gospel. Go on the streets and talk to people. Tell them about Jesus. And I had this amazing experience with this street person, and we ended up like going to McDonald's and grabbing some late night. I was at the wrong conference.
Oh no! Really?
I was at the wrong conference. All my friends and all the people from the youth group were at the other conference. I just walked in. I didn't even have a ticket. How did I get into this thing? I don't know. I just walked in assuming I belonged there and that I would find my friends. But there's thousands of people in this stadium full of people, Coliseum, size of a ice hockey rink kind of thing, big professional team level, 15,000 people, something like that. So I was in the wrong place. And it was my first high school real girlfriend, was part of that youth group. She thought that I deliberately abandoned them, and it ended up just breaking up. So there's another one for you.
Oh my God. Right? It cost you a relationship too?
It did.
Jesus.
It did. Yes. 17 years old, and there I am heartbroken.
A simple mistake. Anyway, you didn't need that girl anyway.
A simple mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I probably didn't. Yeah. But here was something else that happened to me that was where I knew that there was something larger going on. I had a friend of mine, country boy from Virginia, comes to Cincinnati, Ohio. That's where I went to college. And he was, became good friends. And at this point, we'd known each other for about 10 years. He's living in the neighborhood, in another neighborhood nearby. And he moved in next door to a crack house. And my friend had addictive tendencies. He was drinking, a little smoking. Well, one night, he did the rock, and it started going downhill. Now, I didn't know about this. He was ashamed of it. He especially wouldn't tell me because he knew that I would have something to say about it. So it started going downhill to the point where spiritual things were manifesting in his life. He said his grandfather had sent him money for Christmas, and he decided that he was going to go spend it on crack. And the $20 bill ripped out of his hands, like physically ripped right out of his hands. And he said that there was this light and dark being that manifested like right there in his apartment. So he comes after this happened. He came over to my apartment really agitated. And after getting him calmed down, he explained to me what had just happened. And I'd known my friend for 10 years, man. I knew that this was not, crazy drug-induced haze. He was clean at that moment. And, he's a good friend. I knew him well enough. Matthew, if you're out there, brother, I still think about you. And so he said that, like, he goes back home, and this is weighing on my heart, right? And some days pass, and I decide I need to tell him that he's fighting for his life, and he needs to make a decision now. And that if he wants help, that it's there, but he's got to get on his knees and pray for it. So, and remember, I'm not really the big Christian anymore. I'm in a later 20s, and, this isn't a big thing, but I still, I know that this thing is real and it's powerful, and I've seen it work before in people's lives. So I go over to his house, and, next to the freaking crack house, but it's like an apartment that's been converted, or a house that's been converted in all these apartments and has a front deck area. And we're sitting there on the deck, and it's, 30 feet from the street or whatever. We're having a quiet conversation, very intense. I'm looking at Matthew. I'm going, brother, you're fighting for your life now. You need to, Jesus is real. You call on him. You call on that power, and it'll change today. You know me, brother. I wouldn't pull your leg on this. Do it if you want to, if you want help. This man looks over at me, and his eyes are burning with hatred. And he looks at me and he goes, stop that shit right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just skin crawling crap that this man said to me. And I could tell that there was something that was inhabiting his body at the time.
Yeah, for sure. God, dog.
And that was whatever it was, the evil, bad force that was behind getting my friend addicted to crack was also trying to stop me from helping him. I've seen these things happen before in other ways too. I've seen it happen in good ways. I've seen good spirit or good force or energy, whatever, actually manifest in people and like deliver the message right when you need it, to let you know that the loved one who's passed on is still thinking about you, that you still have a connection to them. Because that person comes up to you. This happened to someone I know at a bus stop. Was thinking about her, a very good friend of hers who had died some years before, and for some reason he was on her heart. She's standing at a bus stop in San Francisco, and a man walks up to her and calls her by the nickname that her friends used to call her. Very personal nickname. I didn't even know it. And he calls her by the nickname and says, "I'm all right. Don't you worry about me." He spoke through this man at a bus stop to her. Whoa. So that her prayer would be answered because she wanted to know he was okay. Yeah, man. That was someone very close to me who was a very much a person who's based in the rational world. To this day, is unsure about what happened to her because the rational mind is now trying to twist it around and say, oh, it could be some kind of remarkable coincidence, Yeah, how's someone going to know the nickname that someone has called you and walk up and give you the message that's been, the question that's been on your mind, on your heart, and they walk up and they answer it for you out of the blue at a, bus stop in San Francisco. But, it's just the point is that my friend is not prone to fooling herself or fits of imagination or whatever, flights of imagination. Not that that's a bad thing, as after the conversation we've had, but I've seen this happen before many times, and I know that it's real and that these things they're part of our world. There's a kind of a teaching that goes way back in the Christian church and in some other traditions. I've seen it in Buddhist and Hindu, where we can see, we experience the dark so that we can know the light. Yeah. That these things they don't really have any power in and of themselves. They're these low vibration, lower dimensional entities. In the astral plane, they talk about a lower plane that has these beings, the things that we call, demons and devils and monsters of certain kinds or whatever, that these thought forms, these images are there. And that they can take form as these entities with their own, agendas and their own minds, but that they're kind of a counterpart to the other side. And, we have this dualistic thinking of this being a battle of good versus evil or whatever. Even though I've witnessed it and been part of it, I don't necessarily subscribe to that kind of thinking. I think that it's all God and love, but we have chosen to have this physical experience and to believe some of these things are happening, that there is these dark forces out there that can get to you, and they can, but in the end, they're not real. They're part of a simulation to teach you about the light, and the light is all that exists.
I swear,
that's my thinking on it, and I learned that from Christian Science. And once I learned that from Christian Science and their conception of it, I was like, yeah, actually, this is the truth. It rang a bell with me, and it's how I understand it. And if you think about the dark things all the time, you will attract them into your life. I asked my friend Steve Rogat about that once as a shamanic practitioner. I said, Steve, how do you deal with these, with the evil, with the demonic entities and the dark and all that? And he said, they're not part of my life. I don't think about them. I don't give them any energy. I don't give them any attention, and they don't bother me. They're not real to me. They can be real to someone else if they want it to be, but he's like, it's not going to be real to me. And this is a guy who, shamanism takes you into those places. You can have direct confrontations with them. Sometimes you have to do it in order to free a person from possession. But ultimately, what are they possessed by? Is it something that's real?
I don't know, man, because like I when you were telling me that story, I went to Memphis in May once. It's just a concert thing. And they had these Christian picketers there that were holding up signs over the boardwalk bridge. And we were walking in line. I think I was standing in the beer line, actually, waiting to get some beers. And
I'd be there with you, bro.
And I look up and I see these Christians, like, they're holding these signs that are like, you don't need drugs. And they're screaming stuff like, you don't need alcohol and drugs and rock and roll and all this other stuff to feel love and have a good time. And this dude is standing next to me just shaking, man. Like, it's like one of the first times. It's back when, the really gauged earrings were just coming into style. That's how long ago this was, And
I remember grunge.
Dude, he's just shaking. I've never seen him. And he's turning red. And he turns around and he looks up at him. And he is screaming to the top of his lungs. Like, he looks like he's about to have a breakdown. He's like, get away from me. Get out of here. Leave me alone. Get away from me. And I was like, why are you so angry?
Yeah.
Dude? He wasn't even acknowledging me. I was like, hey, man, let him yell or whatever, let them do their thing. It ain't going to phase us, Let them, I mean, we have the right to we have the right to do what we want. We have the right to picket, whatever. But this dude could not hold his stuff, man, And I started feeling that.
And
dark.
It makes you wonder if there wasn't.
Yeah.
If there wasn't something inside of him that was responding to them. Yeah. Or it was confronting him with something, bringing out his own conscience in a way that was very uncomfortable for him at the time. I mean, I've seen, I've been in rooms when the Holy Spirit manifested. I felt that I laid on hands once, had a very distinct experience of feeling the energy go through my hands and into another person. I was freaking real. I mean, but it was energy. It was energy. And that's what it is. That's what it all is. It's energy that can be shaped by our thoughts and our feelings. But what we're participating in here in our current reality is the preconditions for this have been shaped by thousands of years of experience and belief. There's the whole idea of good versus evil goes back to 3,000 years ago, and a guy named Zoroaster, who was a great prophet of in the Iran area in Persia. The first great emperor, in fact, of recorded history, was kind of an Alexander the Great of his time, and had a massive empire. And he was also a prophet and a philosopher. And He wrote scriptures that the Bible is based on. A lot of the stories in our Bible were first recorded by the Zoroastrian religion. And there's some people who say, and I kind of agree, that that's also where we went wrong, because we started thinking of everything dualistically. It's good or it's evil. It's light or it's dark. It's, and we started dividing the world and labeling things that, once we started creating labels on things, we had to start trusting the people who were creating those labels. Those Christians are out there holding their signs saying, oh, it's bad to, drink and smoke and listen to rock and roll. Really? Is it? Have you tried it sometime? Everything in moderation is okay. Edgar Cayce taught that, and I believe it. Everything in moderation is okay. Have those experiences. It's cut loose, get a little drunk, whatever. In moderation, it's fun. We're here to have a physical experience. To test things, to experience things. You have to find these things out for yourself. If you restrict yourself, then, or if you label things as being good or bad, then you're, especially if you start believing what other people have labeled, if you start believing their labels, well, now you can fall into all kinds of ignorance. We're fighting wars over in the Middle East right now because there's a certain group called Christian dispensationalists who have risen to the highest levels of power and have been able to institute their bloody vision of how to bring about the second coming. They think they have to start the war that brings Jesus back to earth in the second coming. With all that stuff in Revelation where it says that there's going to be a great war in the Middle East and all the armies are gathered there and all that. Well, this is what the Christian dispensationalists believe. George Bush Jr. was a dispensationalist. The guy in the Vice President Pence is a Christian dispensationalist. The crazy bathead from Alaska who ran with John McCain, thank God I don't remember her name anymore. I'm trying to block it out. She was a Christian dispensationalist. And what they believe is that they need to start the war so it'll bring Jesus back. They're forcing his hand. I mean, how crazy is that? But these people believe it, and it's because they've labeled the Muslims as the evil force. It's been going on for many years, long before they ever came on the scene, but they're picking up on those beliefs and those labels, and they believe it so strongly that they're willing to create a cataclysm, an apocalypse, to carry out their beliefs and make them happen. That is insanity. And that's why I think we need to stop dividing the world dualistically. We need to understand it as all a range of experience, and that it's all being created by us. This is all energy, and we are creating these experiences, and we are creating the divides that we then argue and fight and kill over.
Right.
So there's one for you to go out on.
Well, JM, dude, we got to get out of here.
The show, huh?
Yeah, like 20 seconds. Can you give everybody that website one more time really quick while we roll out of here?
Dreams123.com. Go there, start learning how to interpret dreams.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be back tomorrow night. Got to go, though. I mean, we pushed it, so big shout out to all you guys. See you guys tomorrow night. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings. Good night.